This video is brought to you by Nord Current Labs and their upcoming game Chains of Freedom, a high-stakes turn-based tactics game inspired by classics like XCOM. The world has gone to hell and you're the only one who can save it. Command an elite military squad through perilous missions filled with danger, deceit, and moral dilemmas, the three tastiest flavors of intrigue. In order to unravel a complex plot involving a rogue scientist, mind control serums, and a government teetering on the edge of collapse, you'll need to be prepared. That's where your squad comes in. Saute together a mirepoix of weapons, ranging from meat hooks and axes to flamethrowers and mortars. And don't forget to enhance your characters with unique abilities by mixing and matching biocrystals found in the world. Hell yeah, biocrystals, that's the umami of upgrades. I shouldn't write ads when I'm this hungry. Hungry for Chains of Freedom, which releases later this year on PC. So head on over to Steam right now to wishlist the game and start tasting that sweet, sweet intrigue.
Hello, children everywhere. I'm Yahtzee. I'm joined by my good pals, Jay and Marty.
Hey, I'm only speaking to the adults now.
And this is the Windbreakers podcast, as always. Lovely to see you. How are you? How are you, chat? We never really talk, do we?
All we do is take your money, but I just want to know how you're doing. How was your week?
Yeah. Pay us money so that we can see how you're doing.
You know what? This week, I'm going to give chat money.
No, you're not.
No, I'm absolutely not. I don't even know how to do that.
No.
For me, honest.
But yes,
I'm going to take more money.
This week, if I could wrench us roughly in the direction of the point, we are in the aftermath of Jay doing a lovely video on his favourite swamps in From Software games. We're talking about the worst kinds of levels in games, not the worst specific levels in specific games. Although I'm sure we're all thinking of something specific. What kind of level? What unspecific kind of level always draws an eye roll in us when it shows up in a game? What makes us go, oh, not this shit again?
Lots.
Yeah.
Well, lots of them.
I have some that are like thematic and others that are like, you fucking threw this mechanic at me, and let me tell you, I'm not thrilled right now.
Oh, I've got a few up my sleeve. Why don't I start with the classic? The one that was always the big joke in the 90s, sewer levels.
I like sewer levels. I like a bit of stink. I just made a video on swamps.
Yeah, but it was always like the running gag in the 90s, especially with first-person shooters, that there'd always be the one inevitable level set in a sewer. I think it was largely just people getting bored of people falling back on that particular trope. There's even a joke in No One Lives Forever, which you can't buy anywhere now. It's in fucking ownership hell. But
we give you full permission to steal it.
There's like a sewer level early on in that game, and there's a sign on the wall that just says "Mandatory FPS sewer."
I was playing Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines for the first time last week.
That's big on sewers, isn't it? Because there's a whole class of character in that game that can only navigate the world through sewers.
And I was one of them. And when I found a grate, went down into the sewers, and then saw a map. And it was like a complete underground version of the city that had different entrances to different places around the world and stuff. And I was like, wow, this is involved and makes sense narratively. Like, if it makes sense in the game's world and makes sense for your character to be down there doing something, awesome. If it's just a sewer because, no thanks.
Well, from a practical perspective, the sewer is basically the contemporary settings dungeon. If you need to go underground in some gloomy tunnels and maybe like navigate an urban area in a non-standard way, sewers are your go-to for a lot of game designers, I think.
Yeah, it's also just like immediately labyrinthine to where even like the footage we're looking at, any sewer I think of in games, it's one of those, I can't get my bearings because all this shit looks the same. And I keep hitting a bunch of, 4-way, 3-way intersections, and now I don't know which way I actually came from. It's also usually a boring color palette. It's usually a green, a brown, a gray. Nothing's popping there.
Yeah, most things that go down in the sewers are that color though, Marty. When you
I can only assume I only assume a lot of this is fairly accurate to what real life sewers are like. Although what I'm looking at the footage that Eric's showing is there, I really question if there'd be that many lights in an actual sewer.
Sure, you think it'd be much darker.
Well, obviously it depends on the city. Some cities have like really elaborate sewers, like the Japanese sewers are like epic.
Yeah.
But around where I live, it's like a cramped tunnel under the ground that you can glimpse if you point your flashlight down a storm drain.
Yeah. It's inherently dangerous, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's flooded with sewage. That's going to be dangerous from like a biological
people that flush random shit like drugs, needles, fucking weapons, and like the things you could encounter down there could be interesting, like RUSs.
Might trip over, get a mouthful of poo, get cholera, die, spread cholera to your entire neighborhood. Anything can happen.
How do you die? Tripped over, mouthful of poo.
Tripped into poo. I had an experience recently, really enjoying a game in my replay of Arkham Asylum. And all of a sudden I found myself in the goddamn sewer. And Killer Croc was there, which was cool.
Croc, yeah.
The Killer Croc chase scene is cool until you're like, this is really boring, and I know exactly what the game wants me to do, where you have to move very quietly, and then he chases you, and you have to get him, and then move very quietly again. Then at a certain point, I just didn't know how to get out of the sewer, and I was like, do I just live here now?
I was absolutely going to bring that up. Like I've said at the time I reviewed it, the sewer section with Killer Croc is the absolute nadir of an otherwise very good game, Arkham Asylum. And that was sort of leads me to my second kind of inherently bad kinds of levels, which is going to probably cover a lot of bases, but which I would call the sudden change of mechanics, sudden death level.
Yeah.
And I group like the mandatory stealth section as illustrated on the thumbnail with MJ's bits in the new Spider-Man games with that. Games that introduce a whole different mechanic you've been doing this whole time and that fail you instantly if you get it wrong. The one level that does that.
Yeah, stealth should only be used in two scenarios. One, you've made a stealth game, and that is what your game is about. Or two, it is an optional way to tackle a scenario that if something goes wrong, you can then use non-stealth to get out of it.
Yes, if stealth runs through the entire game, then that is good stealth, hypothetically. Although there are plenty of the latter example that turned out really badly. If you just do stealth for one level and they just game over you like instantly if you get caught once, that is bad stealth.
Spider-Man is the worst example of this, and why it annoys people so much is because the game goes to such lengths to make sure the player adjusts themselves to what Marty was saying, having a stealth and a combat option within gameplay, and to the point where Spider-Man is constantly saying, like, here's an optional challenge, can you do this full stealth? And then you don't fail, it just says, you failed the optional thing. They spend like 15, 20 hours cementing that, and then they're like, here's a completely new control scheme with MJ, and it's insta-death. So it goes completely against everything you've been taught and everything the game has been trying to teach you. And I think that's an actual crime. I'm not sure why you should do that. It just pisses people off. I don't get it.
What statutory sentence would you attach? Prison, community service?
Death.
Just death.
Yeah. Just death.
Death by mandatory stealth section.
No, prison, but you have to play that level repeatedly.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
prison, but you're in prison with a whole bunch of rapists, and the only way to get to the cafeteria for your lunch is to do a real life stealth section, avoiding all the rapists.
Oh my god.
That sounds like Manhunt 3. It's also like MJ's a journalist, a reporter, or something.
They pulled that out of their ass, didn't they?
Why is she doing this? Just have me doing reporter stuff. Let me fill out a Google Doc.
I mean,
I'd prefer
stealth could be reporter stuff. I mean, usually like paparazzis hiding up in trees with cameras have to do a bit of stealth to get there.
Yeah. It was bad. It made me like the MJ character less, which I liked the MJ character except when I was playing her, which sucks. And it's also it's not just Spider-Man, like Zelda games are guilty of this. Ocarina of Time has an early stealth section that sucks, sneaking through the gardens of the castle. I think the worst bit of Breath of the Wild, in my opinion, is sneaking through the Yiga Clan dungeon. And then I replayed, speaking of replaying games, HBD, happy 10th birthday to The Order 1886. Did a little replay of that last week. 2/3 through the game that has a stealth section through an outdoor garden of a mansion. And the second you're spotted by someone, you just instantly die. And it's like, I've murdered so many of these motherfuckers through the game. Why don't you just let me keep murdering them?
It's the juxtaposition. It's to go from having action and options to then go into slow gameplay and stealth with insta-death. Like you said, you've been killing these people left, right, and center, and now the game has decided that they are in a position to kill you. Like I just don't think it ever feels good. But it's the video game thing to do, and we need to get away from that mentality.
I think the most egregious one of that sort of thing for me was Castlevania Lords of Shadow 2, where there's a specific kind of enemy you can only stealth past. And in that game, you are fucking Dracula. You are the Prince of Darkness. You are the most powerful evil being short of death himself.
Yeah.
And you're having to sneak past this fucking asshole potato man in an armored suit. Like, disguise yourself as a mouse, even, to sneak past this armored potato man. When, you know, Dracula... At worst, should be employing the dude, not trying to sneak past him.
Yeah. Ugh. Goes against narrative mechanics. It's just, it ain't good. Like, what other mechanics do games, or like, I guess we're thinking of levels. Swamps are the big one. Like, what's your temperature on swamps? I know I did a video, but like, I want to get your guys' temp.
Well, I guess for me, like the suddenly unwanted instant death level, I don't really like a level that applies constant pressure, as you referred to it in your video, Jay. I never liked those XCOM 2 levels where you had to do something within a certain number of turns. I like to, go at my own pace. So I'm not a fan of things where your health is constantly ticking down while you're doing it.
Or sort of like a forced timer in Metaphor Refantasio recently. I think there's a level you get swallowed by like a big worm, and you got to make its way through its body, and then you have like a timer counting down, but there's multiple paths through. And so part of me is like, well, I'm in the dungeon, I like doing everything and making sure I get every item, but also this worm's about to digest me, and I need to get the fuck out of its stomach before its acids burn me to death.
That stressed me out.
Yeah, I mean, that was, I guess, swamp adjacent.
You'd have thought digestion would be a slow, gradual process. I don't know what the hell was happening at the point where the timer hit 0. I guess that's the point where we fall over and get the mouthful of poo, as previously 100%. Referenced.
Yeah, the mouthful of poo.
My temperature is, thinking of soul swamps and any kind of form of pressure that's being applied, as long as it is testing my mechanical ability that has already been taught to me. Like, in a swamp, you can get slowed and you can get poisoned, but that's making your resources go down. I'm still engaging with combat in the same way. I'm still engaging enemies the same way. It's just adding a little bit more stakes to it. I don't mind that. Part of me and my feeling towards like Miyazaki's obsession with swamps is that whenever I see them in a new FromSoft game, I kind of just roll my eyes. I'm just like, I know what it is. It's not surprising me. I'm just like, it's the mandatory sewer level. It's just, we're here now. Let's do this.
I've heard this song.
You know what's the spiritual predecessor of both the sewer level and the swamp level? The flooded temple zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 1.
Oh my god. Water levels. That's one.
So that's another thing. Water levels in non-water centric games.
Especially in Sonic, which had established that you're supposed to be going really fast and just blasting through the level, to suddenly have this more traditional platforming level with your control scheme that's set up for going fast around things and not tentatively creeping through tunnels slowly, avoiding all the spikes.
Yeah, I also made, not to mention more of my video stuff, but with Thierry from Sea of Stars, we did a video on how to make an underwater level that doesn't really suck. And the crux of it is kind of exactly what we've been talking about, which is don't mechanically change the game. Like, don't adjust things and give people completely new things to worry about in an Like you take like a 2D plane or like a top-down view, and then you like add water, and now suddenly you have to worry about all axes of movement. Like that's inherently confusing. And then because of that, a lot of water levels become very vertical and very all over the place. Like the water temple in Ocarina of Time, famously, very difficult. Not because it's difficult to execute, but because it's just confusing. It's just very confusing to navigate. Like I like it thematically. Like a water temple is super cool, but I just think too much. They try to do too much with it, and I think you have to restrain yourself when you do water temples.
And a lot of games just have awful swimming mechanics. Like, you have games built around swimming like Abzu, where swimming feels great, but there's those Devil May Cry levels, those early Devil May Cry levels that would be underwater and it would turn first person. And you're like, Capcom, what are you doing? Like, why am I doing any of this?
I think of the swimming in the original Tomb Raider games, the swimming in Metal Gear Solid 2 when you were having to get through the flooded area with
with what's her name on your back,
fucking Emma Emmerich strapped to you like a little screaming anchor.
Monster Hunter had this where they introduced underwater monsters. I can't remember which. I think the chat will know, or Eric will pull up. There's like they briefly introduced underwater swimming and underwater monsters, and the problem is, I think. You were talking about first person, Marty, about in Devil May Cry when you go into the first person view. I think swimming in third person just feels bad. Because
99% of the time I agree with you.
One of the things that I'm doing with my my current game is it's a 3D platformer. So I'm doing 3D movement, and one of the things with third person characters is usually when you turn the analog stick, you're not moving on an axis like this, you're spinning the character around as you move. And when you put that into a situation when you put them underwater, they now need to worry about going up and down, but that's usually based on where you're looking. So you're like spinning a character on a globe, and it just feels horrible. So I think that's one of the reasons why DMC was like, underwater levels, let's just put them in first person, because then it's just press forward and go where you're looking. But why add that? Like, if you're gonna, those sections weren't fun or interesting, so just remove them. Like, do something else. It's confusing, man.
Yeah.
Well, if we want to transition away from water, I've got another thing to bring up that can be used as a transition away from a water level.
Ice?
And that's the bit where you slide down a hill.
I knew you were going to say the slide.
I like sliding down a hill. I'm going to defend this one.
Dude, you must love Tomb Raider.
Oh my God, I love Tomb Raider. I love an Uncharted game where I fall on my ass and I go down a hill.
Ooh.
Well, I didn't mind as much of the original Tomb Raiders because that was like a recurring mechanic, sliding down slopes. Every time there was slopey ground, you slid down it. I'm talking about bits in games where they just transition from one scene to another with like an inescapable mini game where you slide down a hill.
Yeah, it feels like that's become like a crutch that they use to be like, well, we need to get a character from here to here. What do we do? And it's like, I fucking slide them. Let's have them slide down a hill.
Cinematic set piece. God forbid a character in Uncharted or Tomb Raider would actually decide to go somewhere and not just get forced to go there by contrivance.
Be forced.
Again, I think like it comes back to. I think there's a unifying thread here. They change control schemes and they add insta-death. Like, I'm thinking of Tomb Raider when the very cool scenes where you get like fucking impaled on like stray branches and shit. Super
lovely
cool.
stuff.
But also it kind of becomes a little bit tedious when like you get killed and then you have to do the first third of that falling section again, and it just feels like ugh. Like
so that's the
example.
Go ahead.
Well, the example that for some reason comes to my mind first is the sliding down a hill bits from Silent Hill Downpour.
Oh God!
Where you're going down a sewer tunnel, and like a lot of things in that game, it really sort of messed with the tone you want in a like a psychological survival horror game, like what Silent Hill is. Because it was cheery. It was like a theme park ride, and you try to establish the tone. You have the character going, "Oh no, I'm very distressed. That horrifying thing is happening." But that's not the vibe I get. Like,
in the back of your mind, you're like, wee.
Yeah, we go, wee.
I think of that scene in the Goonies when they're going down the
exactly.
water slide.
Water slide.
Yeah. You mentioned the insta-death in those moments, and insta-death to me is one of those things that it's a double-edged sword, because if you get through a section like that without dying, you're like, oh, that was actually pretty good. Like, I just made it through this chase, through this, platforming gauntlet, through water rushing behind me or lava coming up from the ground. And if you get through it the first time, you're like, oh, that was good. I am good at this game. The second you die, you're like, this is bullshit. This game is bullshit. And why are you making me do this? And then you have to go back and replay it. And it feels like the only way to get through something is by learning from your failure. And you're like, well, that's not what I want from a set piece that's supposed to be exciting and cinematic. Yeah.
There was the best example I can say for something that does insta-death well with a similar scene would be a lot of the scenes from Ori in the Blind Forest. So like the Jinzo tree in Ori in the Blind Forest is a tree filling with water that you have to race away from. But the thing is that it's testing your mechanical execution of the mechanics it's just introduced. Right. Like it's trying to be like, hey, you've learned everything up until this point. Now execute them correctly in a scene that's applying pressure.
A very high pressure situation.
Yeah, not, oh, I'm going to change all of your controls. Now you're only sliding and move left and right. And if you don't really understand that twig that you're seeing is a hazard, it's going to instantly kill you. And then we're going to make you do it again. Like, I think it's all about keeping the mechanics uniform and giving the player a chance to actually use them, right?
Yeah, I've generally hated like the cinematic set piece in your cinematic story-based game, where it's basically just a quick time sequence in all the execution, because instead of doing like the flat-out quick time events, they just have you push forwards with the stick. And if you don't push forwards, you get killed by the thing that's chasing you.
Yeah.
It's basically like if you do anything other than the intended thing for the cinematic sequence, then you get instant killed. Tomb Raider
completely destroys the illusion, right?
Yeah. It's funny. The other year, a year or two ago, when that Silent Hill: The Short Message came out, that little first-person bite-sized one. There's a scene near the end where the monster is chasing you through these like confusing hallways, and you gotta do 5 or 6 things in order to get to the exit. I can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah, I remember you briefing me for that, but I managed to get through it on my first go on stream somehow.
So did I, and it was one of those things to where if I didn't, I would have been like, this is one of the worst things I've ever played.
Yes.
But if you do manage to get through it in the first, you're like, okay, that wasn't that bad. But if I had to replay that from the start, I would have like deeply fucking hated it. Which I think is just those kind of one-offs. Like, are you guys fine? It seems like we're bringing up, if you change the mechanics for a single bit, we don't like it. But like, that's not like, I don't mind a mini game if done well. I don't mind a turret section unless it's like the Dead Space 1 turret section, which is infamously terrible and super difficult when you're shooting those asteroids coming at the ship.
No, I don't mind like a little change of pace, because this ties into the peaks and troughs design, which is the way I've always thought a game should be paced out. There should be moments of excitement and moments of like where you can get your breath back, and sometimes an arcade sequence can serve as either of those, really.
Yeah. Well, bouncing off of that, because I completely agree. It's one of the things I taught at uni was the pace of your gameplay and how you do that, and the downtime is super important. And I think any mechanical change, this isn't a hard and fast rule, but mechanical changes and experimentation should be done in downtime, not in high stakes excitement. Because if you instantly kill anyone or change mechanics in high stake, like falling down a slide or like something like that, it can instantly take you out while the game's trying to teach you, oh, if you do this, you'll die. But now be excited about this thing you've already seen again. Oh, isn't this fun? No, like change the mechanics in the downtime through mini games, like introduce things in downtime, and then maybe introduce it again in a high stakes situation. But because they've already been tested previously, then they can do it with a reasonable degree of skill.
Yeah. No, that makes sense.
Did we have any more specifics that we wanted to highlight?
Yeah, I have a couple. They're less thematic and more sort of like ideological. Unwinnable fights that you don't know are unwinnable, and you can use items during.
Yeah,
It's like a nightmare.
Resident Evil 6, I'm looking at you.
It's like if you're wasting good weapons and ammo or wasting health items, and it turns out you need to fail this, or the thing that's tough is I don't want a game to be like, oh, BT dubs, this fight doesn't matter, so just have fun. Like, but there has to be a better way. Maybe lock out my inventory, or
Like I think of like the final tournament in the Street Fighter 6 like single player campaign, where like the final of the tournament is against like the recurring like rival character, and you are supposed to lose to him because he's like unstoppable, but you're free to use all your like recovery items in the course of that fight. Yeah. And it was only like using recovery items that got me to that stage in the final tournament, because I'm not very good at one-on-one fighting games. Funny that.
Yeah.
So can you guys mention you have to lose this fight that is good? Because I can't.
I like I think it's the last battle of the first Hellblade game, when Senua's like overwhelmed and you just keep fighting and you can't win. I think that's kind of a powerful character
End
moment.
of Red Dead Redemption's Red Dead is a you've got to lose fight.
Oh yeah, the end of Halo Reach as well. But I think the very first time.
End.
Okay. Here's one from the beginning of a game. The very first one I ever saw, Final Fantasy II on the NES. Like that was where it just like throws you right into a combat against dudes that totally outclass you. You don't have the first clue how to fight. You haven't got any items. They just go bam, 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 and you're dead.
Yeah,
and it was a very effective opening, I thought.
Because you're just like a group of plucky teenagers trying to defend their village, but it's like, oh, this is like a general. He's gonna fucking swat these kids down.
That was my very first experience with what I would come to call the supposed to lose fight.
Yeah. Some folks in the chat are mentioning Crisis Core at the ending, which again is like a character's last stand, can be effective, but that very much seems like a narrative conclusion.
There's two things you're doing, right? You're either doing it at the end to be a narrative conclusion of an unwinnable fight to kind of thinking of Red Dead, that final stand. It's executed beautifully.
It's the old Spartans at Thermopylae thing, isn't it?
Yeah. Or the beginning, right? Where you're doing... Yeah. You're trying to introduce the power level of a big bad. It's effectively like in anime where they introduce your big strong friend who's really strong, and their entire role is to get punched in the face by the enemy who is bigger and stronger to show the enemy's power level quickly. That's effectively what an auto lost battle is doing. You
know what suddenly leapt to mind was like that bit in the film Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. That's the first encounter between Spider-Man and the Green Goblin. And Spider-Man has been kicking ass up to this point because he's a fucking superhero. But then he runs up to the Green Goblin, swings a punch, the Green Goblin just catches it. And that's where you go, ha-ha. Now this, in a video game, would be a supposed to lose fight, wouldn't it? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what this is. So that would be, it's not a video game, but that would be an example of a mid-story supposed to lose fight where it works.
Yeah.
Yeah. Asserting power levels is what it's trying to do. But when you add the mechanical execution of having items or not understanding that when they do it and you're not really sure if they're meant to be much more powerful than you, sometimes you get into a fight, a boss will take half your health off and you'll be like, okay, I'm probably meant to lose this, right?
I assume I'm supposed to be getting my ass kicked right now.
Well, often,
but sometimes they don't.
Often with video games, probably because I'm used to playing Dark Souls, if I feel like I'm doing really poorly, I'll just sort of ease off and just let myself die to sort of get a feel for the boss's attacks. Mm-hmm. So I can come back in the next attempt and with more understanding of what the position is. And under such circumstances, it would be very easily to recognize that it was a supposed to lose fight.
Yeah.
The first boss in a lot of Dark Souls games are kind of supposed to lose fights. In Elden Ring, the boss you meet, the weird multi-armed Legionnaire character you meet in the starting area, is a supposed to lose fight. But you understand that because of the genre convention. Mm-hmm. It's it's just communicating that effectively, I think, is the hard part.
Yeah, and like sweaties can still beat them, right? Like, or like as soon as you in Elden Ring, as soon as you get out of the church or whatever, there's the Sentinel Knight. That's what Eric's showing right now.
The supposed to lose fight, where if you're really good, you could potentially win the supposed to lose fight. Like,
FromSoft loves doing that.
Like Star of Demon Souls, yeah.
Oh yeah, the worst bit is where you lose in a cut. You beat them, but lose in a cutscene. That is the ultimate sin.
Yeah, like that as well.
One last thing I had written down was tall levels where you spend a long time climbing up, and if you do one fucked up jump, you fall to the bottom, and you need to climb all the way back up again. And I'm like, what are you doing? Why are you making me do
we
this?
played one of those on stream together.
Sometimes that's
was literally the game.
Sometimes that's really intentional, though, because I think of like the level in Cave Story where you're trying to climb out of the pit that you've been banished to. Yeah. And it's like, hey, this is supposed to be, it's like a Dark Knight Rises thing. This is like supposed to be something that no one's ever escaped from. And they're sort of channeling that feel of determination in you. It says, however many times we fall, we're going to keep trying. And then we're going to come back and kick some ass.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if that's what the game is about, that works well. If the game is something else, and you're just like, I played a couple Next Fest demos that had moments like that, and I'm like, I don't feel like this is trying to like thematically get a point across. I just feel like you're now making me do this whole thing again that I've already proven I can do, and I just fucked up in one jump. So I guess like some games do ways of fixing that to where like you hit a certain point, there's almost like a checkpoint where it's like it spawns a rope that goes all the way down to the bottom, and if you fall, you can grab that rope and jet back up. I think like some of the Sonic Frontiers or Shadow Generations, one of them did that. What we're trying to say is the only good levels of video games are in Sonic games. I think that's what the conclusion is.
Well, that's an argument for another time, perhaps. Shall we go to Super Chats?
Yeah, sure. I would be honored.
Alrighty. The Hungriest of Hippos gives $2 and says, obligatory your gear is gone levels for sure. Ah, yes, now. Those tend to be staples of your Ubisoft-style sandbox games. And I think the reason for that is that it's the only way to re-establish a villain as a threat. Because in the course of something like Ghost of Tsushima or Far Cry 5, everything you're doing from the word go is chipping away at the influence of the villains. You're retaking all the territories, like liberating all the outposts. So by the end of the game, the villains got fuck all left, and how you're supposed to still be threatened by them at that point when it comes to finally confront them directly. I think that's the purpose of the your gear is gone level. Although I agree, a lot of them are a pain in the ass.
What about levels where you're in the opening things? I always think of Prototype whenever I try and think of this thing, is like you have all of your powers and all of your power-ups at the beginning, and then they take them away.
Yeah, that's Symphony of the Night, Metroid Prime do that to kind of show you where you're going to be and then give you an adversary. In Castlevania, it's Death, and then in Metroid Prime, it's Ridley.
Ridley.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I like to showcase, like, this is what you're going to get to. This is what the game's going to feel like at the end. Because it's very hard to open a game and be like, I promise you it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. Some games just try to do it in media res so that you are like, oh, this is the kind of stuff I'll be doing later in the game. But yeah.
Yeah, the old cold open shit. Like, and then the old 48 hours earlier, like little screen that comes up.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't mind a section where like you get arrested or you get kidnapped or you get, caught, and for a little bit you don't have your goodies. Like I was doing a little replay of Chrono Trigger over the weekend, and it's weird that you get arrested, you go on trial, you are sent for execution, and they just don't take any of your weapons. And you just beat the shit out of the guards. And I'm like, I guess that's fine, but it's funny.
Although it seems, thinking about it, there might be some crossover here with the mandatory stealth level. I'm thinking of the horrible level in Hotline Miami where you're escaping from a hospital with all your shit lost.
Yeah.
Resi 4 does a similar thing where it takes your weapons away, and you have to go through a short area with your knife, stabbing up.
Well, that makes you. That also does where it puts you in the shoes of like a weaker character in Ashley, right, where she can't do anything. Like the knights are chasing her or whatever. I guess with Ashley, we didn't bring up escort missions.
No, I think that's probably a bit of a cliche to complain about that these days.
Yeah.
Everybody knows why they got a barge.
And possibly more of an old school one, because a lot of video games these days have NPC escort characters, and actually giving the player responsibility for them is actually not that common these days.
Yeah, it seems like
Bioshock 3, Infinite did a lot of that stuff where it's just like, you don't need to worry about this person. If anything, they're going to help you.
Yeah,
that was the same thing in. That was within like a 2-month span. We got that and Ellie in The Last of Us, and I thought both of them, like both Elizabeth and Ellie, were able to sort of hold their own in a way that original Ashley could be a pain in the ass. Although original Ashley, you could just be like, hide in this box. Hide in this box. Let me beat this level, and I'll come back and get you out of this box.
That's why she was helpful. Atreus in God of War as well. It's more sort of it's more sort of a mini-me situation than the person you have to protect, like it was in, I don't know. There was an old 3D game called Fade to Black where you had to escort an old man through a level, and he moved like half your speed, and every now and again, if you got too far ahead, he'd just keep saying, "Slow down, I'm an old man." That was an annoying kind of escort quest.
Atreus is a good example because they're not in danger and they're not constantly screaming help, 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 and they're useful in a way. So when they are in danger and they are being attacked, you actually feel some sense of like, shit, I need to like lock in and like do something now.
I mean, fair's fair. They've been pulling your ass out of the fire a few times.
Yeah.
Exactly. What's her name in Half-Life 2? Jocelyn? Alex. Jesus,
Jocelyn. Where the fuck did Jocelyn come from?
Margaret.
There are no game called Alex.
There are no characters called Jocelyn in Well, there's a character called Judith Mossman. Is that what you were thinking of?
I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know if I've ever met a Jocelyn.
I've never heard the name Jocelyn.
I mostly got
in a room with a Jocelyn.
I mostly got taken aback a little bit because Yahtzee brought up Mini-Me, and over the weekend I was plugging away at an upcoming archive on a weird old pre-GTA Rockstar game, and I ended up playing some of Rockstar did a pair of Austin Powers Game Boy Color games.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing.
So why don't they come back and do another Austin Powers or add some Austin Powers DLC to GTA 6? How come that's not happening? There it is. See,
they referenced Austin Powers in GTA London 1969, which was the expansion to the original game.
See?
But no one really cared about GTA until 3, did they?
No.
Liquid Cow gives £5 and says it has to be stealth levels in an otherwise non-stealth game. Yep, been over that.
Yeah.
Thanks for the money, though.
Thanks, Liquid Cow.
That's their third super ever, apparently.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I can't wait for the fourth.
Sovereign gives €5. There's timed levels, especially ones with very short timers would be my personal pick. Nothing technically wrong with timers. I just hate feeling rushed. As I said, Sovereign, that's, I very much agree.
Yeah.
Time has to make sense for me.
I mean, that's part of like one of the really mystifyingly poor gameplay decisions for Silent Hill 4 was that in a game that had traditionally been about, systematically exploring areas, finding all the hidden health drinks and keys and shit, being chased the whole time by unkillable ghosts who kept whining in your ear and making your health tick down was one of the many annoying things to deal with.
It is so much friction thrown in your way in the back half of that game, and I hate it in the moment. And looking back on it, I think it's like legitimately genius. Depending on the day, I might say Silent Hill 4 is my favorite Silent Hill, which I know seems kind of blasphemous. But
I wouldn't say that, but I still think it's really good. But it's got some very annoying gameplay that I've struggled to defend at times.
It is a game I did not enjoy playing, but it's a game I really enjoy thinking about. I'm also sad that I missed the big head. I just didn't go in the room with the big head.
You didn't find the big head?
Big head. Chump. That would be your favorite then.
Dr. Theo gives $5. Says levels with the super long intros. This is especially prevalent in rhythm games where there's no checkpoints. Yeah, we have to get through the entire start of Baba O'Reilly before the guitar actually kicks in when you play guitar.
Automata.
Yeah, especially if it's something that you have to replay.
Yeah,
and you can't skip a bit. Yeah, that's what. So we brought up Nier, and both of us agreed that opening was kind of junky. And someone was like, "I don't remember that." And it's like, so it's less that it's like narratively not bad or anything, but it's mechanically kind of wonky until you land on the planet. And if you die at any point in those first 45 minutes, there's like no checkpoints. So it's just you go back to the start, and you're like, "Well, this isn't onboarding whatsoever."
It's a real pain in the very chubby, overexposed arse.
The problem is it's got such an interesting respawn and death mechanic, with the. But then to introduce that, they have to stick to their guns on the kind of the checkpoint system, and think that's
Bookworm 776 gives $5 and says Tales of Symphonia has many levels where you have to do all these levitation puzzles, even though one of your characters has wings and could just fly.
I feel like games will toss those bullshit narrative conceits. RPGs will do that a lot of times in dungeons, and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
I don't know. I guess it's even the equivalent of like you can take a meteor to the face in battle and be fine, but if a character gets stabbed in a cutscene, you're like, oh, that's a cutscene knife, so that knife could kill you.
Something people are fighting against in game design all the time, like ludonarrative dissonance, is just everywhere. Doors. Why can't I go through this door? Like, this door is made of wood and I've punched through a moon. Why can't I go through this door?
Yeah. Well, that's the trade-off, I suppose.
Yeah.
Just existing 40.
Oh, God.
Just existing 45, member for 13 months in the Green Gang, says, "Thank you guys for all of the amazing content."
You know what?
You're welcome.
Thanks for just existing.
Yes.
Just for you, baby.
Gil Onyetic gives $5. Says, "That butcher shop in Thank Goodness You're Here." Oh, sorry, that's worst level, not worst level. Arf, arf, and furthermore, arf.
Got him.
To go to see how the sausage is made. Right before we went live, that super chat came up as we were talking about Wurst, which was just like German food and like a German bar, which was just a weird timing, Keldon.
Yes, I know. We were just I was talking about this German club I used to go to in Brisbane, where they'd have a dude on stage playing the accordion in lederhosen, singing German drinking songs as we all raised our steins. And I made a pun on
how that
German food being the worst.
It's so weird how that conversation started as well, because you joined the chat and I just went bonjour,
and I said,
and then you responded in German, and then we just started going down that train. So the fact that all came together is very weird.
Yes, little insight on how the verst is made there. Juicy Jeff gives $5 and says, "Mandatory turret or on-rail sections that put you in a stationary position in a game that otherwise has lots of movement and control feels icky." Yeah, sliding down a hill levels, as I say.
I think a bad one, every once in a while, get behind a turret can feel good. Like, just if it's like easy, you're just blowing a bunch of shit up. Like,
the one that leaps to mind is the bit at the end of the prologue for Saints Row 4, where you're the president and the aliens are invading, and you jump onto a turret and shoot the shit out. For some reason, that felt pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Especially when the alien ships arranged themselves into Space Invaders formations, and I was like, we're doing a goof.
Yeah, it feels very in line with like the tone of the game.
Yes.
Yeah, I want getting on a turret to feel like an upgrade, not a necessity. Like, I don't like it. I was playing the most recent Call of Duty, whatever version that is, and there's a bit early on where a helicopter starts coming for you, and you get on the back of a gun on the back of the ship, and if you don't shoot it enough in the first like 20 seconds, it like destroys you. I don't want to feel that pressure on a turret, because if I'm struggling to shoot it, then we're going to get this same thing of you're going to die, and then it's trying to re-excite you about this thing, and it's like it's not exciting anymore. I want getting on a turret to feel like I've become a god. Like, I've found a turret, you guys are fucked. And you're just like mullering people, just turning them into paste. Like, just that's what I want.
Mow them down. Yeah.
Yeah.
Witticism gives $10 and says, "Hello everyone, I took the week off to play Monster Hunter. Just hit the first credits roll. As for levels, sewer levels always feel uninspired. Do you all have examples of a good sewer level?" I was thinking about that, Witticism, and I drew the conclusion that the first half of Half-Life is like half sewer level, depending on how exactly one defines sewer level, of course. But you seem to spend an awful lot of time going underground to places and hanging around in pipes where liquid is flowing.
Liquid.
Half-Life.
Do we not quite a sewer, but like underground levels in the original Super Mario Brothers, I think are good. And you take a pipe to go underground. Like,
well,
I don't know if that's legally a sewer level.
Well, you weren't waist deep in poo.
I like to pretend I was. In real life, I was, but in the game, I was not. I think the sewer in Final Fantasy XII that you go down to early on, I don't mind. Yeah, I just really like Final Fantasy XII. So,
is the opening of Oblivion a sewer, or is it just like underground bullshit?
Well, as I said, sewers are just contemporary dungeons. So, you know, some games there's going to be a blurring of the lines between the two.
Yeah, too blurry for me.
All right. Corvus Vacatio gives $2 and says, anyone mentioned forced stealth sections yet? Yes, quite a few people, yes. Corvus Vacatio, but thanks for your money. Hjorth87 gives 20 Danish kroner and says, just tired. Kids are 5 and 7 and take much attention.
Oh, no.
Well, not as much attention as when they were 1 and 3. Am I right?
No. Oh, no.
When one of them literally you have to be holding all the time or it dies.
Oh, no.
I have to accompany it for a shit.
It seems like so much work.
At least you can just put...
Yes.
Well, you know, my kids are at the age where we can just leave them to amuse themselves for a lot of the day.
Sure.
You know, it's amazing. You just give them like some foam blocks and they'll just do all the work. They'll just say that they're making cakes and just amuse themselves making cakes out of foam blocks for the whole afternoon.
Kids' imaginations is wild. Love it.
I know. Ryan Betts gives $2 and says, when it comes to levels, I am H2O intolerant. Meaning that he hates water levels, I assume.
How do we feel about lava levels?
Lava levels?
They just swamps. I said it on my video.
That's true. I mean, Los Isleth, that's just a swamp. That's just a spicy swamp.
Well, if it's the kind of lava level where you die instantly when you touch lava, then, you know, just bottomless pit level, isn't it? It's like those Crash Bandicoot levels that took place over bottomless pits.
Is there a theme that when you see it pop up in a game, you're like, hell yeah? Like, what's that? I like a non-spooky game that has a spooky level. Like a Haunted Mansion in a Mario level, in a Mario game, hell yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, give me a little bit of spooky. Ooh, yeah. Give me a little spooky and a non-spooky, and I like it.
Oh, yeah.
Pirate ship.
Ooh, love a pirate ship. Have I got a podcast for you? It's called last week's episode.
Oh, there you go.
All about pirates.
There you go. Hjorth87 gives 20 Danish kroner and says, used to hate timed levels, stressed me so much out. Well, but why used to, Hjorth87? What changed? Do you like them now? Because I don't.
He had children, and now he loves them. Because they're not trying to like kill themselves in sharp objects.
Quite. Gives $5 and says, Marty, my Wii U still works and it has Atlas's Trauma Team installed on it. At least one thing went right this week.
Did you guys ever play Trauma Team back in the day? A DS game that also eventually released on the Wii.
Was it related to Trauma Center?
Yes.
Was it the same franchise?
Yes. Trauma Center was the DS one, I believe. Trauma Team, I think was.
Yes, I remember playing Trauma Center. I remember it being kind of laughable story-wise. You were like some kind of super doctor who didn't know how to do doctoring and had to get the nurse talking them through it the whole time.
Look how good this is, though. You got your stylus and you got to like pull the pieces of glass out of the arm and then you got to disinfect and then you got to stitch it up. This was Atlas. Now they're just making games where you kiss a bunch of underage girls. That's
okay.
Persona.
Yes, okay.
That's Persona.
Thank you for the heads up on what that was.
Yeah.
Permafrosty79, member for 11 months in tip jar. Thank you very much. And then a superb owner, member for 15 months in tip jar. Oh, immediately outdoing Permafrosty79 there. And then a superb owner gives $2 and says, has Marty defended Big the Cat in Sonic Adventure?
Yeah, how do you guys feel about fishing? Fishing for froggies in the middle of the game.
You know, I could take or leave it. I don't like it if it's just a complete distraction from the actual game. If it's something you do to sort of like to pass the time or improve other aspects of the game, like Stardew Valley, where you can just do it to get a bit of extra cash, I'm fine with it. But if it's just completely interrupts the game to do something completely different, I'm usually like done that kind of thing.
What if you embody a large purple cat when you do it, and you're looking for your frog friend?
I'm super keen.
Well, I don't really see myself in the shoes of a giant purple cat, but then I've always been more of a dog person.
The thing is I see it as fishing minigames, and fishing in general kind of proves our point, which is when you add mechanical change into the downtime of a game, not into the peaks, it's fine. Like you're never doing high stakes fishing in a game. It's always a relaxing downtime experience. Sure. So, and as Yahtzee said, take it or leave it. It's usually an optional thing.
Also, if you do it well, then it's fine.
Yeah,
you can break every rule if you do it well.
I don't mind it in Spiritfarer because you can do it to like pass the time while you're journeying to a place, which is like the only context I want, like something that will kill time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Era Prototype gives $10 and says, "Holy cow, I'm able to see this live. Hi." By the way, controversial, old PS2 games where they changed the game mechanics as the final boss, like God of War 1. Yes. Not just changing the game mechanics, but changing the game mechanics as the very last thing you do. Like Star Fox Adventures.
Ugh. Might be the ultimate sin.
Yeah. A lot of some of the Devil May Cry games did that. A lot of Japanese games do that. They like turn the final encounter into like an on-rail shooter. Like Devil May Cry did that, and we're like, "Wow, what are we doing?" Like, why is this happening?
Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2. Once you go into the Citadel.
Yeah.
Hideki Kamiya's just got a fetish, I think.
Hjorth87 gives 50 Danish kroner and says, "If I made an indie game and gifted it to you, would you try it out? I have a concept down and a friend who knows a bit has offered to counsel me." Well, you have to understand. There are a lot of games jonesing for my attention, Hjorth87. And if I let you in just because you are a Super Chat regular, then I got to let everyone in. For being
Make a good game is step one.
Yeah, make a good game.
We'll cover it regardless.
Yeah, make a good game, give it a bit of buzz, and then if it gets enough buzz to get to me, and maybe go, "Ooh, I should check that out," then I'll check it out.
Get a Next Fest demo. Let me tell you, I played a lot of Next Fest games.
Yeah, I've played a few Next Fest demos, and some of them are hot shit, I'm going to say.
Yeah, but some of them you seem to enjoy. You said one you, quote, couldn't tear yourself away from.
Yeah, and let's not be coy. It was Haste.
It would never be coy. Let's not be hasty. It was coy.
Well, yeah. Like the first part of the title's Haste. It's got like a bullshit, like dry heave-inducing secondary subtitle. But Haste is all you really need. It's a good game where you are a bespectacled girl with a fat ass, basically running through terrain with the Tiny Wings controls.
Hell yeah!
Dude, you do have a big ass in that game. Just thought about that. Yeah, you got a big dump truck. Did you know that's by the Content Warning folks? That multiplayer game we played? Content Warning? Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and Totally Accurate Battle Simulator.
Oh, those lads.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
Motion really well.
Yeah.
Nick Auden gives $10 and says, "I'm not sure how to categorize the levels, but the Silent Realm challenges and Skyward Sword were unnecessarily anxiety-inducing and tedious to me. It's the only LOTZ I haven't replayed due of them."
Yeah. These, I'm chalking these up to levels that I completely agree with that. But in my replay a few years ago, I got through them without ever being caught. So they were fine with me. If I got caught, I would have sent a strongly worded letter and bomb to Miyamoto.
Are these mandatory?
Yes.
Grim.
You go into the Silent Realm and you have to run around and collect these things that keep sort of these silent guardians at bay. And you got to run around this giant arena finding them all. And if you're going too slow, the silent guardians will come awake and snatch you and insta kill you. It can be a real pain.
Gross.
Tsunami Dusha imparts a sum of money equivalent to 1/5 of 100 and has no further insights to share.
That's going to pay off soon. And
then Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, "Those fucking underscore levels in Crash Bandicoot games." Were you going to say rope bridge levels? Because I would have said rope bridge levels in Crash Bandicoot.
Motorcycle.
There's several.
With
with Coco.
Like when you get with Coco, not candy. You get on the when you get on the little tiger in Warp.
Oh yes, because you have to run towards the camera so you can't see what's coming up.
Mechanical change, insta death.
There you go. Good music though in those levels.
Great music.
A superb owner gives $5 and says Tsunami Dusha gives his usual $20 and says nothing as his want.
Exactly.
Just like you. It's just like you for real, for real.
Yeah, there you go. Mr. Arms Legs gives $8 Canadian. Says, I miss when combat games had platforming, like DS1, DMC, Devil May Cry, OG, GOW. Because despite being bad, they added variety to the whole game. Counterpoint.
They're so bad.
Counterpoint, jumping puzzles in 90s first-person shooters. This will come up in this week's Semi-Ramblomatic, incidentally. Mm-hmm. Boo, boo, and hiss.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It absolutely will come up in this week's. Replaying Devil May Cry with Casey the other year. The platform, like, they're bad. They're bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Forced camera perspective platforming do not mix. They really don't mix.
Forced camera perspective in 3D platforming.
Yep. Ugh.
No, never, not even once.
Gross.
BS Marsh gives $5 and says, "Good morning and good afternoon, gentlemen." Which he says because it's morning for me and afternoon for you two, I believe.
Genius. Mm-hmm. Absolute genius. It is.
Dr. Theo gives $5 and says, "Hey, Yahtzee, if you're in the market for video essays to listen to in the background, always, I recommend Rauby. He made a great video on Dustborn."
Why did you say his name like that?
I don't know, but I have never heard of him. I will look him up. Fuck it.
Last video a month ago, Marvel Spider-Man 2 was kind of disappointing.
Okay. 120k subscribers. Okay.
Reach your... Do you have like a limit to where like if someone's not popular enough, you're like, I'm not doing this?
Well,
let me tell you, being on the ground floor of someone who blows up, that feels good.
I don't know. You mentioned it. If like someone recommends someone and I look them up and they've got like 5k subscribers, I'll feel a lot less motivated to check them out.
Sure, but think about ground flooring. Oh my god, I was on the ground floor of Annie Austin. Now he's blowing up. Ooh, feels good. Feels real good.
I mean, I guess it doesn't cost me anything to give him a quick check. Anyway, yes. Actually, I watch less video game centric video essays just because that's my day job. I want to take my mind away from that sort of thing. I've been watching a lot of like Matt Hancock true crime ones lately, although a lot of them kind of depress me after a while.
Yeah, I watch some like police room interrogation.
Yes, he has a lot of that sort of stuff.
They're fascinating, but also depressing.
Yeah, like if I watch those, I want to know that at the end the asshole got sent down for it. Yeah. I want to see someone squirm.
Mm-hmm. Watch them break under pressure.
Yeah. Like, what's that great one the Canadian, like, army general dude who it turned out, like, murdered 2 women? And there's this, like, absolute masterclass interrogation where he, like, does a full confession at the end.
Wonderful. It's a science. It's so cool.
Yeah. Ryan Betts gives $2 and says, the level where everything becomes a British thing. That's just all of thank goodness you're here, I think.
They made a whole game out of it. That would be a funny theme for a level, how like
the British level.
Yeah, you got the volcano level, you got the forest level, the British level.
I remember thinking,
how are you going to transition?
Like there's a starting level in Uncharted 3, I think, that's set in London. And I just, that really put a bad taste in my mouth. Because this is every inch of this level just yodels made by someone who has never been to London.
Yeah, you start in the pub and
yeah. Everyone's wearing flat caps. There's fucking red phone boxes everywhere and cobbled streets.
I don't know. Sounds like London to me.
Go to fucking London.
As someone who's been to Heathrow once.
Yeah.
Just for a layover. Sounds like London to me.
No. Maybe you were in like a touristy bit of London that they have right outside the airport for precisely that reason.
I literally did not leave the airport. I was there for a layover. So that is my London experience. But I think I'm an expert.
You haven't been stabbed. You haven't been to London.
I saw the show Skins. Several seasons of Skins, let me tell you.
This is good.
Yes, which is also very reminiscent of the first chapter of Uncharted 3. Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says, is there a single good water and ice level in games? Oh yeah, ice levels. We didn't mention that. All the slipping and sliding physics in your platformers.
If your game has good core platforming physics, I don't mind icing them up. Mario games with a little ice, I don't mind. The Banjo-Kazooie Christmas level, a staple in this household.
Well, I've always been fond of playing as Luigi, who famously is given less traction than Mario in the 2D platformers.
It just has to not be egregious, the ice, as long as it's not like making me lose fucking control. I don't mind having a tiny little bit of added challenge, and that being the challenge of the areas, but if it's going nuts, get out of my face.
Yeah. I like a little, like the Donkey Kong Country games will like have like harsh winds blow in your face every once in a while. So you need to like time longer jumps to when the wind's not going too hardcore. Astrobot had some good icy snow levels to where you could like your body would plow through the snow and it'd make like cool tracks in the snow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Error Prototype gave us $5 and says, okay, maybe it was only my friends that say that it's fun when they change the mechanics of the game at the final boss. I have weird friends then.
Yes.
I suppose you do, Error Prototype.
It would just be like taking a course all semester and at the end you have a final exam on something different.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that happened to me at school.
That's a fucking what?
So in school we had like higher and lower set maths. And I enjoyed maths, but I didn't particularly like my teacher. But I was in like lower set of maths. And the entire year they were teaching us lower set. And then in the final exam, they accidentally swapped the higher and lower set papers and gave them to the opposite people.
Whoopsie.
So the higher set people all got like A's, and everyone in lower set failed because they didn't learn any of the stuff that was in the papers, and everyone failed. And this was in the papers in England. It happened, and they refused to let us retest them. They just failed us all.
When I was at school, we had a higher set and a lower set for English, and I was in the higher set because my creative writing assignments had always been like the best in school. But it turned out in high school, higher set English just turned into fucking writing analyses of Shakespeare plays, and that shit bored the tits off me. We got like one creative writing assignment per year. That was my one opportunity to knock it out of the park.
Amazing.
Vactor gives $5. Says, in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, the Hotel Ghost level was one of my favorite moments until I had to do it over and over again in replays. Yeah, it's a good level, a good memorable level. Just, as we say, completely different to the rest of the game.
I haven't got to that part yet.
In Bloodlines? You never played Bloodlines before?
He's doing it now.
No, I've told you I was playing it like last week.
Oh.
We're talking about the sewers. I haven't got to that bit though. I'm currently playing it at the moment.
I assumed you meant replaying.
No, I've never played it.
I've never played it.
Well, I played it ages ago when it was still buggy and cool.
We should stream it.
Stream it.
Well, I ain't gonna say anything furthermore because of spoilers and shit.
Okay, cool.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says the final boss in Sonic 2 where you have no rings. Ooh, God, yeah, I hate that.
Any moment Sonic where you don't have rings. Too scary.
Any moment in Sonic.
Yeah.
Hey, no, nay, no. Hey.
Hey, no. Hey, no.
Look at him chasing Robotnik. Fucking
SussyGo2000 gives €5 and says, was there ever a boss fight at the beginning of a game you're supposed to lose but allows you to win, and if you do, the game just ends? I don't think so, SussyGo2000. None spring to mind.
There is an example like this. I cannot, for the life of me, think of it, but there is what I need to find it.
Isn't there like multiple endings for Chrono Trigger? And one of them's like if you defeat the boss really, really early in the game somehow, and it's like sort of
you can at the Millennium Fair right at the beginning, and Luca tells you to enter the left pod to try teleporting, and if you enter the right pod, I believe you go directly to the Day of Lavos, which you can win on a New Game Plus because you'll have like a fully zooped up Chrono.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's where you get one of the endings. People are saying Devil May Cry 5. Oh yeah, Devil May Cry 5 starts off with the boss where you fight spoilers, what's his name when he becomes scary monster guy, and then you come back to later in the game. But I guess if you beat it the first time around, you get a little ending there. Cheeky little ending.
There you go. A superb owner gives $5 and says, "Good to have you back, Eric. You are appreciated. Here is some money to make these chaps look like pirates, since you missed the opportunity last week." Oh, here we fucking go.
You think Eric's been working on this the whole time?
I'll bet.
I'm shocked. We're not pirates yet.
While Eric's getting that ready, Zaratha gives $5 appropriately enough, and says, "Now you've mentioned it, Katana Zero has an unwinnable mid-fight that's well done. Also, still waiting for that game's DLC."
That game, I don't think that DLC's ever coming out. I don't think that DLC's absolutely never coming out.
Yeah, kind of.
I love Katana Zero.
Run out of buzz, really. A bit late now.
Is that going to be Silk Song? Like, is that going to be Silk Song? Or people, like, is it just, does it not have the wings anymore?
Mark my words, Silk Song is going to get announced that it's coming out with the Switch 2. It's coming.
And the Jehovah's Witnesses said the world would end in 1984.
I will die on this Silk Song hill.
Okay. Spy William 30 gives $5 and says, "Precision platforming levels over instant death chasms out of nowhere. Anor Londo from Dark Souls 1, spiked pillars from Gears of War, God of War, Meat Circus from Psychonauts, etc." Psychonauts has plenty of platforming in it.
But at the very end of the game, the final challenge is the Meat Circus, which is
but I never minded the Meat Circus. Maybe I'm just too hardcore.
I literally
that
finished
is a platformer. So
it's not like changing. It's just like these are the only like very precise, cruel platforming challenges in the game. And yeah, when I finished it up on my personal stream a few weeks ago, I had no problem with the Meat Circus. You know why? Because circuses are great, so is meat.
With this filter, when I blink, it makes the entire thing move.
Genius.
Names Not Fits gives 100 Swedish krona and says, "The developers of Doom clarify that the Titan and Dragon battles in TDA are full-fledged mechanics to quell any worry that they would be one-time gimmick levels. Series 1 of A Adventure is Nigh also has a sewer episode." Well, that doesn't count.
That's us. That doesn't count. Well, it's good to know that because I did when they showed off Doom, the Dark Ages, they showed off the dragon levels and the giant mech levels. But it's good to know those aren't one-offs. Those look fun. That game looks fun. I think that game's gonna be good.
We shall see. Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says, "Do levels become bad when you grab every collectible instead of just reaching the end, breaking every box in Crash, or nabbing the emeralds in Sonic?"
It depends what you want, right? Like, if you're a completionist...
I mean, if the game obliges you to collect everything, like it's a Euro Jank 16-bit era platformer, then yes, that's annoying. But a lot of the games you're talking about will still let you end the game. You just don't get the best ending.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I usually explore a level until I'm not having fun anymore. And then I just leave the level.
There you go.
But it's usually fine. Leave on a positive note.
Tantanu Sean Bhatia gives £4.99 and says, "Whatever was going on in Halo Combat Evolved where you fight your way in and then fight your way out along the same path. I hated that."
Is that the library?
I never played the first Halo game.
Don't tell that to Nick.
ABA.
Very sad.
Ever. And I never will. And every time someone says I should, I mentally make another mental note to not do so.
It reminds me of another thing I hate for obligatory levels in video games, which is self-destruct, run, oh, fuck off. Like, whenever I see little explosions going, fucking red lights and a timer, just fuck off.
I like that. I like it.
It's so derivative. It's like, I know exactly what's coming. Oh, I'm being oh, explosions. Oh, fuck off.
I think I just like it because it's done in Super Metroid, and maybe that was just an early example of it, and I like Super Metroid.
The Super Metroid example is good. I like the Super Metroid example. But like, it's done a lot in Ratchet and Clank, and I'm just like, just stop it.
I like a sort of JRPG or RPG sequence where, like, the dungeon is exploding and crumbling, but there's no actual urgency, so you can just stop and like use a tent on the save point while the entire screen's vibrating.
I love that.
And then resume the daring escape.
Games are done.
Fun. Squirtle Squad 420 gives $5. It says, maybe not a level, but enemies that you can only kill with one specific weapon annoy me greatly. I got a game you won't like. Fashion Police Squad. You won't like that game at all.
Yeah, it's entirely built around that.
Yeah. And it's a good game, though. I liked it.
If you could swap the weapons quickly, it's good. If I need to go in a menu to swap it to kill a bunch of different enemies, it's bad.
Yes. Tinker DD gives $5. It says, this isn't a specific level, but games where every boss is immune to status ailments just makes me question why these are here in the first place. I'm with you, Tinker DD.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the classic JRPG thing, isn't it? I mean, the status ailments only really work on low-level enemies, but those guys are out of the way quick enough that there's not much point in using them.
You don't need to chip away at their health with like poison or anything, so why do that? Yeah.
I have this ambition to like design a JRPG style turn-based combat system, and I want to base it around status ailments. Based around my experience playing Persona 4, when I discovered that if you could just like do like the one spell that confuses every enemy, that's as good as just using the weaknesses, because they just like fuck themselves for the rest of the fight.
Yeah, I like that.
Lord of the Rings fan 193, member for 15 months in the Green Gang, says, I didn't like the timed battle in Persona 5 Royal. Which one was that?
Oh, that was a Kumara. Yeah, that's notoriously the bad one. That's Haru's dad.
Oh, yeah, I hate that fight.
They completely borked in Royal, and it's like only easy to finish if you put the difficulty up to like crazy extreme or whatever.
Yeah.
Just because of damage numbers.
Oh.
Red Dwarf 42 gives £4.99. Says, what does the fade count as in Dragon Age Origins?
I don't know what that is.
I don't really know off the top of my head what that was.
The fade? Eric, do you have visual of this to jog our memory?
It sounds like a scary realm. The Fade, also known as the Beyond, is the Dalish and some human is a metaphysical realm that is tied to Thetis and separated by the Veil.
Oh yes, they're like platforms floating in the flat platforms floating in empty void world in the Dragon Age franchise.
Like Zen?
Sort of, yeah. Alex Armstrong gives $5. There's certain Zelda quests are horrible. That Anju and Cafe side quest in Majora's Mask is infamous, considering you need to do it twice for 2 heart pieces.
Alex, that's like literally story-wise my favorite moment in all of Zelda is the Cafe and Anju side quest. My thing is I don't worry about the heart pieces. I just wanted to see these two reunited and hold hand in hand together as the moon comes crashing down. I think it's beautiful.
That is stunning.
Yeah, it's a little creepy because the husband, the fiance, got turned into a child, so it looks a little creepy. But just pretend that
she has to be on her knees to hold his hands. That's
a little creepy. I already said it's a little creepy.
Yeah, so is the moon.
There was a Star Trek Next Generation episode once where a bunch of recurring characters get turned into children, and the one who's like married to Chief O'Brien tries to sort of cuddle up to him, and he's really freaked out.
I mean,
Chief O'Brien.
I would be.
Robo Knob the Snob gives €23.48 and says, defend MacGuffin X missions usually suck a lot. The combat system's now limited, and if the MacGuffin is a human, they better be paraplegic, because a person who doesn't even try to defend themselves is not worth saving.
Yeah, you wouldn't like Destiny. That game is walk to place, defend thing.
Yeah.
I don't like those. I'm not a big fan of. It's usually seen a lot in FPS games because they are conducive to stand still and rotate defending a thing. But I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, if the thing is helping, if the thing has like some form of self-preservation and is helping me defend it, then I'm fine with it.
Well,
if the thing is just useless, then it's off.
Well, the thing I always hated was having Shaver around in Resident Evil 5. Because she'd defend herself, but she'd do it by using up all my fucking healing items I was saving for a special occasion.
Yeah, it could be bad.
Alex Armstrong is $2. Says, what's a hot dog stuck in a lady's snatch? Twat dog. Okay. Is this like the lyric to a song along the lines of Shaft? As like, who's the sex machine with all the chicks? Twat dog.
John Twat Dog. Can you dig it?
He's one bad mother. Shut your mouth. I'm just talking about Twat dog.
Alex Armstrong, your super chat led to a much funnier joke, so I appreciate.
Or is this a superhero origin? No, twat dog. No, twat dog. Vagina, twat dog.
I don't like this level. Can this level be the one that I don't like?
Well, let's move on from this level. Red Dwarf 42 gives 4.99 and says, I generally dislike auto-scroller levels in platformers, although there are exceptions like the music levels in Rayman Origins. Yeah.
Yeah, like, especially if it changes kind of the speed you're used to playing at. Like, those are some of my least favorite levels of, like, Mario 3 as well.
Yeah.
You can't move at your own speed.
Fungus Finder gives $2 and says, spatially tiny levels in FPS games, nowhere to hide.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't like a tiny FPS, do you?
Like a little closet? I like Doom sometimes would throw you into like a little, you'd like go down a little, like an elevator or open a secret door and you'd be like, what's in here? And it's just a dark room filled with like 10,000 imps. You're like, oh, this place sucks. Why did I come down here?
Was it in the...
Yeah, hold the phone, everyone. We've got a deep red super chat coming up.
Yahtzee, have you? I don't want to diminish, but have you looked at the translate because that is worth 94 cents. I don't want to warn you. I don't want you to get too excited. I appreciate the pesos though. Yes,
it's worth 94 cents, but YouTube are like, that's red.
That's red.
Yeah,
that's red.
Amazing. Man. YouTube. Sort your colors out.
Which is exciting. I'm going to say it's exciting to me.
Yeah, I guess. Well, Aitor Arabari, who gives 94 United States dollars, cents, 0.94 United States dollars, to say, worst levels stroke missions for me are those in which you can die stroke fail several times, and yet they have unskippable dialogue stroke cinematics. All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ. Also, shout out to Blighttown. Pitfalls plus darkness plus shitty platforming, winning recipe.
I'm still on team. I've circled around on. I'm a team Blighttown. The chase, the chasing the train in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas is real bad.
Yes,
I just don't want to chase it.
Really? What if the thing you're chasing is a hot lady from a Persona game?
I thought you were going to say twat dog. That would have been a good callback. Oh, it sounds better when I say it, because you say twat dog, which doesn't sound like anything. But when I say twat dog, it sounds like a hot dog.
I assume that was
that's the wrong way of saying it.
I was deliberately sabotaging the pun because I wanted to go on my riff about Batman. Tinker DD gives $5. Says, as a very slow player who has to check every corner of a level, I hate when games grade me based on completion time. I'm always getting C's and D's. I hate when I'm graded based on time for the same reason, because I had to check every corner.
You don't have to check every corner of the level, Tinker.
You know something I appreciated? Something I appreciated in Tom Francis's game Gunpoint was that every level there'd be like special awards if you fulfilled certain criteria. So if you didn't get seen, you'd get the Ghost Award. And if you did it within a certain time, you'd get the Speedrun Award. But if you did it like if you used up more time past a certain amount, you'd be given the Methodical Award. And I appreciated that. Like, yes, acknowledging that I actually thought my way carefully through the level.
Yeah, I like that.
Imagine getting Methodical and Ghost. Oh, that's the combo. I like that.
Red Dwarf 42 gives $1.99 and says, levels where you run towards the screen. Yes, we brought that up earlier with the old Crash Bandicoot and the thing. I think the first game that did that was Lion King on the SNES. Remember that? Where you had to run away from the chasing wildebeests. Antelopes, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And they had to have a little thing flashing. They had to have a little flashing indicator to warn you that something you were about to run into something.
Real pain in the ass. That game, what do we do with that game? Should have been for children, and is the hardest goddamn game ever created. What are you doing?
Well, they weren't pissing about with difficulty back in the 16-bit era, because half of these games would be like
you get more rentals.
Yeah, half of these would be coin-operated arcade versions as well.
Mm.
Alex Armstrong gives $2 and says Mario and Luigi giant fights with different controls. Referring to the Mario and Luigi games, Alex Armstrong?
Oh, the RPGs. I don't remember them being giants in any of the games.
There's one... There's a couple... I think it's Dream Team, where Luigi turns into a giant kaiju for some of the levels. Yes, there we are.
What?
Luigi turns into a kaiju. What do I need to explain further?
No, I've got it. I think.
Okay. Well, moving on. Aitor Rabari gives another 1,000 arses to say, also, in an unrelated subject, I've been loving the new season of Adventure is Nigh. I'm glad to see you're keeping the tradition of Yahtzee making elaborate plans of deception only to roll a 1, and then someone else rolling a nat 20 and discovering plot points for the whole season. Yeah, it's funny how history runs in cycles like that.
Yeah.
The dice know, as Jack's fond of saying. Sometimes the dice know.
Dice know. The dice oblige. Yeah, everyone check it out. What went up this weekend? Episode 2?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What a show.
What a show. Richard Wells gives $10 and says, a level that never sat well with me is the genie's level in SNES Aladdin. Why can I die in this level? Also, the genie gets sad when you do die, as if he couldn't have done anything to stop it.
I mean, unless you wish, the genie can't do anything, right?
Maybe the genie has a severe dissociative identity disorder, and you're like the things trying to kill you in that level are the evil parts of his personality.
Think about it.
I want a genie game.
Oh, that could be interesting.
Where
a wish granting
it's like a platformer or something, but throughout the game you have a genie and you can type in 3 wishes and they can change the game. Like, I want to not be able to die from platforms, and you get 1 wish, and then like you can. This boss is really hard. Kill this man.
I kind of love that.
Have the genie do 3 things,
like a cheat mode, but you only get 3 cheats.
Yeah,
you can use throughout the game. This was famously one of the first games lead designed by Shinji Mikami. Before he made Resi. He did that. He did Goof Troop. And then he took us to the old Umbrella Mansion.
It's weird. There were two 16-bit Aladdin games. One of them was made by Shinji Mikami. The other one was made by the guy from Shiny who made Earthworm Jim.
Yeah. Weird.
Wow.
Aladdin pedigree.
Dave Perry, was it?
Dave Perry, yeah.
Lord of the Rings fan 193 gives 499 and says levels with respawning enemies, like in the early Lego Star Wars.
Oh yeah, kick rocks.
And sticking in the Star Wars subject, like the last level of Knights of the Old Republic, where like enemies just keep respawning as you're trying to get to the final boss. That's what annoyed me. Hands Up gives $2 and says Calipidgus, perhaps testing my verbal foo. And inviting me to point out that the word he's looking for is Calipigian, not Calipidgus, and it means having beautifully proportioned buttocks.
Beautifully proportioned buttocks.
It's true. Look it up. Calipigian. And it's an 11-letter word.
That's dumb.
Zalno gives $10 and says, out of curiosity, do you think your methods for writing novels apply to other forms of art? Trying to write music again for the first time in decades, and I keep running balls first into a brick wall. Well, my method for writing novels is write a page a day. So obviously that only applies to novels. But yeah, it applies with other things if you just go with the philosophy of do at least one thing a day. At least one thing that gets you towards completion a day.
Hubba hubba.
Even if it's just write down a note for what you're going to do tomorrow.
I like that.
R. Damore gives $4.99 and says, here to add levels with absurd difficulty spikes like the courthouse in the new Colossus. Yeah. Even more so considering that the whole sequence is a hallucination.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
You're excused.
Zalno gives $2 and says, a decade, not decades. Thanks, autocorrect.
Automatic correct. How could you?
Hi. And then Hunter Roach gives $5 and says, it kind of encapsulates everything you nerds have discussed thus far, but I always found the Emmys more annoying than terrifying in Metroid Dread. Yeah, because I kept dying to them over and over again, always in the horrible, violating sort of way.
Yeah.
They stopped becoming terrifying. This is the horror design thing. You need to imply death.
Yeah.
Not kill them.
Yeah. In Isolation, same thing.
Permafrosty79 gives $5 and says, I'm surprised no one has brought up the drug sequences in Max Payne 1. Having to inch along on a very thin path was horrible.
Yeah.
I never played Max Payne. I never played Max Payne 1 or 2. I played 3, but not 1 or 2.
Oh, interesting. Their Remedy is remaking 1 and 2. So maybe you'll get your chance in a few years.
Well, you could tell from certain sequences in Alan Wake 2 that they were clearly of a mind to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, you made that whole video recently about the drug trip, weird vision segments, which kind of ties into that.
Yes, that would have been an example, presumably, but having not played it myself, I couldn't really cite it.
There you go.
RoboKnob the Snob gives €10 and says, I feel collectibles can ruin a level. Long stairs leading to a cool giant door, and here I am ignoring all that looking for collectibles if the game makes them important, i.e. power-ups. Yeah, it's forever the annoyance in games that games like sort of Ghost Train Ride style games like Guardians of the Galaxy or Uncharted, where I'll be making progress and suddenly I'll go, hey, wait a minute, this is progress. There's a couple paths I didn't check back there.
Yeah.
There was probably a hidden treasure in them, so I have to go back.
Yeah, especially if it locks you off from that. A Plague Tale did that a couple times to me, the most recent Plague Tale, and I remember being like, well, shit.
Yeah, I want to be able to go back. There's an art to signifying path of progression, so people can, if they want to, can go explore other ones.
Yeah, I was Casey was going through Super Metroid for the first time on stream, and I sort of by the end was telling him like this game is built upon vertical hallways, and when you first enter a vertical hallway, pretty much the door that's either at the bottom or top, like the furthest door, is where you eventually need to go. So check every door along the way, because that'll be where the save room and the map room and optional missiles and shit like that are.
When you explain it like that, it makes a lot of sense, and it alleviates a lot of anxiety of, are you going the right way, or like in terms of I want to search for everything.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to outsmart the game now. I always take the least obvious route first.
Then I get like halfway down it, and I'm like, "Ooh, is this the real? Should I turn around? Am I going too far?"
Well, the NPC I'm escorting just had a line of dialogue relating to the plot. This must be the actual progress path.
Turn around.
I fit a trigger
Yeah.
Alex Armstrong gives $5 and says the later levels in Splosion Man would be so hard. The game had a feature where you can skip them, but you'd wear a ballerina outfit for the next level. Well, that's annoying and not a little misogynistic. The way you describe it, Alex Armstrong.
How do you feel about Kojima, which gives you a chicken hat if you play on baby mode?
How do you feel about games that take the piss out of you for playing on easier difficulties? Old Wolfenstein, can I play daddy sort of a thing?
I feel like it's kind of falling out of fashion, right? Like, it feels like, you're not man enough to do this.
Yeah, it's all about accessibility these days.
Yeah.
As it should be, in my opinion. Yeah. I think there's a space for lauding difficulty and saying, hey, you completed this on ultra hardcore, well done, but not insulting people who just want to experience story or are physically disabled to the point where they cannot do anything else. I think trying to insult them for some false sense of weird masculinity is just dumb.
You know what I hate? When I'm playing a game and I've died enough times, the game suddenly goes, hey, do you want to drop the difficulty down? It seems like this is too hard for you. That's insulting.
Yeah.
Don't patronize me, game.
I'm
trying.
Phantom Pain let you put on a chicken hat, and it would give you like 3 times you can get spotted without an alarm being raised. And I don't know, the chicken hat was funny looking, so I thought I was fine with that. Every once in a while, I'd be like, this mission's hard. Let me just put on a chicken hat.
And finally, Tsunami Dusha offers 5 times 4 American dollars and does not follow that up with any verbosity.
I'm going to be honest, this is a rarity. This is like seeing a comet twice, a shooting star twice.
Yeah,
you get two wishes.
Rare 2 tsunami douchers.
He usually just does it the once. Maybe we've particularly impressed Tsunami Doucher this week.
Ooh.
We are truly douched out this week. Let me tell you.
Well,
lean and clean.
Well, now that we've completely douched out all the super chats, it's time to wrap things up. Thank you very much for watching, listening to, participating in the Windbreakers podcast for another lovely week. Wonderful people. Don't forget, we have content pretty much every day here at Second Wind, and if you want to be a part of making it happen, best way to do that is to join the Patreon. There's all sorts of extra goodies, bonus videos, exclusive shit, the chance to participate in votes on what I have to review at some point. Why wouldn't you? Why would you ever? Why would any sensible person with half a fucking brain enjoy Second Wind content without joining the Patreon? They'd have to be some kind of absolute cretin.
Oh, you got called a cretin.
Subhuman troglodyte.
So that's that.
I think you guys are fine. Sometimes money's tight. I can understand it.
Also buy some merch. We make merch.
Also buy some merch.
It's good.
Also, if you want to just send me money, just like mail me money, like mail me cash.
Yes.
To my mailbox.
Or cool. just send us access to your bank accounts, and we'll just help ourselves to as much as we need.
We'll take care of the money. You can trust us.
I need lunch today. Let's take some pennies.
Jay's got biddles.
As for what wonderful content to expect this week, I've got a fully Ramblematic video coming out on Wednesday, which will be the long-awaited Avowed review.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, as well as my usual weekly stream. Yahtzee tries. I'm going to play some more games, possibly some more Steam Neckfest demos if they're still up by then.
If they're still available, yeah.
And then I've got a semi-Ramblematic, my video series that's not fully Ramblematic, but deals with broader topics, will be out on Thursday, assuming Matt, the editor, pulls his finger out and gets it done. And then, of course... Oh, no, that's it for me, I guess. No Adventure Night this Saturday, because it's every other week. So what else? What other wonderful content can we be expecting?
Jay, what do you got going on?
Just had a DevHeads episode with Paul Hellquist, who was the creative director of Borderlands 2 and lead designer of BioShock. He was on to talk about his time in the industry and also his new game, which a demo is out in Steam Neckfest. It's called War Torn. Very, very interesting take on the genre he's tackling. So if you want to learn more about that, either go play the demo or watch the episode. And I'm currently cooking up for next Monday an episode of Design Delve, which is on Monster Hunter Wilds. The video is going to be on Monster Hunter keeps making itself worse, and I love that. So
really good.
Check that out next Monday. Other than that, yeah, got a few streams from all of us. What have we got cooking in between streams this week?
What a great question, Jay. Tonight, Hidden Gems will be back. They're playing a game called Darlene Drops. I don't know what the game's called. It can't be called Darlene. Declines Drops. It looks pretty neat. It's like a hand-drawn platformer brawler. So Casey, Jess, and Jesse will be playing that later tonight. Tomorrow, we got a new episode of The Rewind. We'll be chatting about the Oscars, which happened last night. Let me tell you, Conan O'Brien, what a host. He's my second favorite Irishman after Darren. And then you mentioned Yahtzee Tries, Fully Ramble. Also, everyone watch last week's Fully Ramblematic on Citizen Sleeper 2. I thought that was an absolute delight. Great game and great little script and vid by Yachts. And then in the normal Metroid slot on Wednesday evening, speaking of Monster Hunter, I believe the plan is to do a cheeky little Monster Hunter stream.
Wednesday we're doing a Monster Hunter stream.
6 p.m. So we'll be showing off a little bit of that then. And then also you could check, I had a little video essay go up this morning on my favorite moment in Yakuza Pirate. Like a Dragon Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. So take a look at that. That is the moment. Look at that. What a nice little thumbnail. Thanks, Eric. But yeah, that's it on my end. We got one last super chat too, Yachts. You want to read that?
Yes, we did. Brad gives $2 and says Patreon Findom tier. Well, we could have that as long as you proved you deserved it, you pig.
But they're in the thing. How can we shame them when they're in the thing?
It's not enough.
Hey, I'm just the idea guy.
The $1 tier is now Findom tier.
I leave the logistics to the little people.
The only thing worse than giving us nothing is giving us $1.
Yeah.
Trying to say.
Right.
Extremely dumb.
Well, that'll be it from us then. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, team.
Thanks for hanging out.